Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours, located at 5 miles Philip Bolson Highway near the Halover Bridge, is your perfect sea view getaway. Come relax in one of our beautiful air-conditioned sea view apartment, studios, sea view rooms, or suites, all with flat screen television, hot and cold bath, and unlimited access to a spacious and refreshing 40 by 16 foot pool with 6 to 4 feet depth, so you can enjoy that fun and refreshing dive or dip in the pool. We sell ice cold drinks, so you can relax and unwind on our overwater or poolside decks. Contact us at 501-615-4485, 65 or 67. Good night and welcome to the Zenaida Moya Show. I am your host, Zenaida. It's a pleasure to be here on this beautiful Tuesday night. We are in studio as usual, and we are ready to ensure that we give you this awesome, informative, and this engaging show. Remember, you'll be able to reach us through different mediums. We're through YouTube, so we're on YouTube Live. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and I must say that there's one other one I know I'm missing, but let me see, but I'll get that one to you later. Now, tonight we will be discussing something very, very important. It's a topic that I believe, while it would be considered controversial, it's also something that a lot of us, we're very keen on hearing about. And why I say keen is because some of us look at it as something positive. I know millions of people look at it as positive, and of course millions of people look at it in a negative light. We're going to discuss some of those concerns or areas that may seem controversial. But really today we're here tonight, we also want to discuss an actual bill. All right, the Cannabis and Industrial Health Control and Licensing Bill 2022. And here to discuss with us tonight is Mr. Martin Pollard. Mr. Pollard is a licensed hemp cultivator and processor. And we're going to explain a little bit about that very shortly. And he's also a cannabis educator and regulations analysis. Good night and welcome, Martin.
Good night, Ms. Moya. Thank you for having me on the show. Very interesting topic we're having here today, as you know, many people are looking forward for this piece of legislation to be passed. And I spoke to a lot of people, like grassroots people, and so yes. Their concern about the bill is how do you say, consultation.
Consultation.
Yeah, so I know they meet with like senators and stuff from the House, but
yes.
The consultation, when they talk about grassroots people and everyday 8 to 5 people who consume cannabis or marijuana, to say these people are not engaged in this discussion. So we're just here to discuss the bill in its entirety and just create public awareness.
Okay, all right. So we'll just want you to speak a little bit, I guess, just make sure that the mic is right.
Okay.
Okay, is everything is okay? All right, beautiful. All right, yeah, we have already people all tuned in and everything. Like I told you, sorry, let me just reiterate. We are on YouTube and these different other mediums, so persons are watching on different mediums. Yes, but at this moment, I am really looking at the Facebook Live, but I will be going also and going on the YouTube and the other ones as well, just to check things out. But again, share the live before we go any further. Martin, I want them to share the live, and of course, ensure that you state your questions, concerns about this particular bill. Again, we have Mr. Pollard in studio, and so let us get right into it. Yes, Martin, so you were saying that this particular, well, before the show, I was discussing with you certain areas that, already, I see certain things whereby the government is in fact it seems that they are trying to put things in a framework, apparently to try and manage and mitigate any particular risk that may be of concerns to individuals who may staunchly be against this particular bill. And when I say staunchly, staunchly. And so we're going to discuss some of those. And you know, you are a licensed, all right, what is it? A licensed hemp cultivator and processor. And so, and then you're also here in terms of the cannabis education and the regulations. Now, when you say cultivator and processor, I read the bill. What I was looking at was that they have a lot of different areas. So you have people who will be able to apply for different licensing.
Correct.
All right, I saw for restaurant, I saw for processor. So in the case of processor, and I'll let you get to that right now, but just in a synopsis, processor, I see that you'll be able to deal with processing for edibles, you know, for different industrial needs, you know, oils and whatever it is, because hemp goes into a lot of things, and so we're going to get into that particular aspect. And also cultivator, you will be able to be one of those who will be able to actually do the cultivation of it. And I also saw that there's a lot of stipulations, and I noted that these stipulations, they're very, you know, invasive. Some of these stipulations are very invasive, you know, in terms of really looking into your background and your financial plan and who's behind you, and Interpol, and you know, what all assets you own. It's quite invasive. But let's get to the meat of the matter. Why is it that you felt that you would want, and you had to apply, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. So to get these licenses. So what was it that made you feel you wanted to apply for these, to get into this hemp? Is it just hemp or hemp and cannabis?
Only hemp.
Only hemp business. Because I did see a lot of information they were pushing forth about all those interested in the hemp industry, that there were a lot of meetings and so forth. I was sent it as well in the event I was interested.
Okay.
And every so often just look, because remember we have our different viewers on the different mediums, and so that they can see who they're speaking with. You don't have to necessarily. So go right ahead.
Okay, so when you're speaking of cannabis, it's you're looking at, so you have cannabis, which is like the mother plant, and then under that you have hemp and marijuana. So hemp, you have industrial hemp, which is required to have 0.3% THC and below to be classified as hemp. And then when you're looking at marijuana, it's a plant that most people use for recreational use and medical use. So in marijuana, there's two types of marijuana, recreational and also medical.
Yes.
So for recreational marijuana, what you have is a higher percent of THC. In medical marijuana, there's a mix of both. So you have probably a ratio 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 when you're looking at THC as compared to CBD. So that's where the distinction is between recreational marijuana and medical marijuana. Yes. Under hemp, we just say industrial hemp because of the THC percentage. But under hemp, you have the female plant and you have the male plant. Okay. So the male plant is the one that you can use for when you hear about hemp seed oil. Yes. Because the male plant doesn't grow the seeds, so you can press that. Okay. And you get the oil. You can do grain, you can do hemp flour, you can do hemp protein, and then you can use the stock for building hempcrete, which we did when I was in Canada. That's something that they taught us how to make hempcrete, very eco-friendly.
Hemp what?
Hempcrete.
Hempcrete?
Crete, yeah. So it's fire resistant. Okay. You can make hempcrete, and you can soak it like in a bucket of gasoline and lay it on fire, and the kerosene and the gas will just burn off. Yes. It will not like burn down like a house or anything.
But before we get into that, Martin, and good night everybody, good night all our viewers, good night, good evening, Jake, Jake and Jacqueline Boots, Hans and Hart, Orlando, all of you. I just want to say good night to everybody. How many purposes that they said hemp because it's a lot of purposes. I mean,
There's
even
many.
cars, you can put it and you can build cars with it. Literally, the body of a car. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but it is true. It is
Henry
true.
Ford did build a hemp car in 1960s or 70s.
Yeah.
That was the one, and it didn't go to market because, as you know, the petroleum industry and people in that industry, they wouldn't,
Yes.
And so, going back to history, that's where the discrimination of cannabis came from.
Yes.
Because a lot of Mexican was bringing hemp to the U.S. They used to make cloth, plastic, clothes, even biodiesel. You can make fuel from hemp.
What was informed was that initially hemp was in the running to be used to make linens. And after all, they just kind of didn't use hemp. But it was one of it that they would have used to make cloth out of.
It's big business if you understand the international industry, because petroleum is used to make plastic,
Yes.
tires, and a whole bunch of stuff that a lot of people are not aware where petroleum is used in a day-to-day product. So you have the huge industry in petroleum and manufacturing and gas,
Yes.
and it's cheap. It's hemp. You don't need a lot of investment, so you can start growing hemp with a couple $1,000s. But if you were to go and do oil rig, it's going to cost you $millions. So they already invest in that. So it was a whole campaign
Yes.
to have cannabis in general under a bad spotlight. So it took off from there, and we just early 2000. That's when it started coming back to the forefront.
Okay.
To make it. But looking at our bill, I mean, the government have the right intention to.
They call it a new growth building, new growth industry, no?
It's new growth because it's a new industry to Belize. When you're talking
hemp.
cannabis as well.
Cannabis, well, that has been,
Legally, when you look at the legal aspect,
that
it is
has
a
been
new.
forever in our
Correct.
in Belize. So I don't see it. Well, I guess as a legal industry,
A legal industry is
the
new.
black market was there forever.
But market always exists.
Yeah.
You're not going to get, because a lot of people speak about California. If you look at California sales yearly, the black market is where the most sales happen.
But Martin, what people want to know now, you talk about, what is it? HTC?
THC. THC.
All right. We're going to have to explain these things because
Oh, sure.
I don't smoke cannabis. I don't smoke at all. I don't smoke at all. But I have seen hemp oil. So that's as it regards to cannabis. I have used cannabis. Well, not cannabis. I will tell you, my mother used to put, what is it? The little cannabis leaf or something.
Yeah, it's marijuana leaf.
Marijuana leaf in alcohol. And she would say, oh, I'm doing it for pain.
Excellent for pain.
Yeah, for pain. So
It
I
works.
remember you used to soak that, and then I see when you go and you buy stuff for your hair, you see that they have it for what? Hemp. They have it hemp oil, hair products and things like that. So yeah, so I haven't seen hemp in this negative light, but I've seen cannabis, and they speak about this, and I'm not somebody who is pro or against. However, I will tell you that I have a doctor, a very good friend of mine, a very highly esteemed doctor, and he is very staunch about cannabis, the legalization of cannabis, because he feels for recreational use. Not for, okay, put it in alcohol and for medicinal use. Yeah. He's not talking about medicinal use. He's talking about recreational, because he says if it's mixed with alcohol. Now remember, alcohol is a drug. And people speak about tobacco and they speak about all these cigarettes as a negative drug. And we have seen that both are legal, and now they're trying to push in this marijuana, this cannabis. And now what he's saying is, recently, I think there were like, I think it was 5-6 guys, I don't know if it's a year or two ago, they died. It was said they were smoking their weed. I'm not sure, I wasn't there. But that's what they were saying, they were smoking their weed and drinking, and anyway, porting They got in a collision, whatever happened, they all died, right? So their bodies were scrambled along the road. The point is that this is what this doctor is saying, that you mix them up and it could be, it could lead to deaths. And his concern is such. And then we also have the churches. You understand? You have very staunch opponents against this particular bill. Okay, and we will discuss the bill, but we also have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is this bill. You understand? Which is this these oppositions. And so what they're speaking of is that, and we do have a recording that we'll be playing it of this particular Catholic priest, and then you do know you have staunch opponents to it. You have Pastor Louis Wade and many other individuals who are staunchly against it and have been so for a long, long, long time. Okay? And they too have concerns that we will discuss. But you know about these discussions, right? You've heard about these different staunch opposition to it, right?
I've heard a couple clips with certain pastors and religious entities, so religious groups, as to say. And I totally respect their view.
Yes.
I respect everyone's religion and your choice of life. So you're never going to have something new and everyone is going to jump on board with it. You're always going to have people who are for it and against it, and you're going to have people that sits in the middle.
Yes.
I think it's just a need for educational purpose, because I think a lot of people misunderstand the plan. So from a doctor perspective, you have to be an open-minded person.
And a medical doctor. Now we're not talking about honorary doctors here. I have to laugh because I got a call us before. They were calling me about honorary doctors. But not that. No, we're talking about real doctors. We're talking about medical doctor concerns. All right, actual medical, because they deal with our bodies, and this particular one is somebody that's my good friend. I have all confidence in him. He has been true to his word in trying to fight for, to ensure that people, are healthy, and whatever is done is for the best interest of Belizean. So he's not, this fake doctor. This is a real doctor, and so I just want to put that out here.
At some point, so in regards to medical doctor, they attend medical school. Most of our researches and information that we get is from the US. The US hasn't funded an extensive, detailed study as the good and the bad about THC and CBD. Most of the studies that I've come across in my time in the US and Canada and different states is in Israel. An Israeli doctor was the one who first extracted CBD from the cannabis plants. I think now they're trying to put finance together to fund a research. There's some universities in the US that have done it private, like a small study. Yes. But for someone to come out and say marijuana is a deadly substance, that's not a factual information. There has been no study that has been done and showed that anyone smoked marijuana and died solely from marijuana. So there's always that aspect when you speak of mixing stuff.
Yes.
And it's surprising that some of the doctors have this perception of cannabis, because most of them consume alcohol. So we don't hear this negative and vindictive conversation, when it comes to alcohol. And there's more people in Belize that consume alcohol than probably the same amount that smoke. Some people do consume alcohol and marijuana at the same time. But the plant itself is the only plant you're going to find in the entire world that can clothe you, feed you, medicate you, and shelter you. Because you can do everything with cannabis. You can build, you can make clothing, you can, for medical marijuana, I've seen in Canada where they have treated patients with cancer. Certain type of cancer, they've been studied on that it kills cancer cells.
No, well, I believe the medical. I definitely, because I have a friend, he is one of my friends in Houston. He fell and hit his head, right? And according to him, they were going to give him a lot of different pills just to be able to live and deal with the constant pain. And he said he didn't want that, and he started taking weed. And he takes a weed every day, and he said that's the only thing that helps him. No, I just have to go and believe what he's saying,
So let me put the scientific aspect to that when you're speaking of medical marijuana. So you mentioned earlier about THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol.
Say it slowly, say it. You're educated, even myself. Go ahead, say it slowly.
So it's tetrahydrocannabinol. So
THC.
Yeah.
THC.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you have CBD, which is a cannabinoid. CBD. So in the human body, there's what we were known as the endocannabinoid system.
Okay.
So the human body naturally produces this type of this product, but in small quantity.
Yes.
So this is the reason why you see the human body react to hemp, which has CBD, and marijuana, which is THC, because both of them work on different receptors. So when you're looking at CB1 receptor, which is mostly found in the central nervous system.
Yes.
And then you have CB2 receptor, which is mostly found in the peripheral, the nervous system.
Yes.
So CBD works on your CB1 receptors. So this is the reason why you see a lot of patients take it who have epilepsy.
Yes.
People who have seizures and stuff, because they work on the CB1 receptor, which have to do with, mostly your central nervous system.
Okay.
And then you have CB2 receptors, which deal with, the brain and stuff. This is the reason why when you consume THC, you get that how do you say, that euphoric, that effect, because it works on different aspect of the body. And this is something that one of the professors that I always have contact with, they're doing in Israel again.
Yes.
So most of the studies are done abroad, not in the US. So if you try to find information in the US where you study, they're going to be a small amount, because the federal government, this is still illegal in the US federally. So they're not going to fund federal research for something that is illegal. So you have to understand that when you're doing your research, you have to know where to look for these information. But I have contacts in Israel and stuff like that, and so they have been extracting the different cannabinoids from the plant. So you have CBD, which is in hemp. You also CBN, which is hemp. You have CBG, which is hemp. So they have been huge advance when it comes to the hemp product itself. Cannabis mostly stay the same because it's mostly for recreational use.
Well, what the studies that I read, they say like individuals who start to take it from being a teenager, 13 years, and that's the age people are doing it now, 13, 14, 15 years, straight through to when their brain is supposed to fully develop at the age of 25, 26 years old. If they started very young, it affects negatively, conversely, their brain functioning, and that's the reason why you will see certain, some of them get, what you call it? It's hysteria. Some of them get. It's not only the euphoria that they experience, but some of them get what is it when they have like two different kind of thing. It's I don't want to say heckle and jekyll, but it's when they have sometimes they're okay now and sometimes what you got. But it's not only bipolar. It's like I don't want to.
What you call like they have. Like different personalities?
Yeah, schizophrenia.
Okay.
It's schizophrenia. They also, so you see individuals who suffer from that as well. And then of course you see some of them, it adversely affects them in school. So their brain functioning is affected to the point where they will not be smarter than, let's say, someone like me, who was in school and was not taking these drugs. You understand? My brain would be functioning well, and so that's why I could, excel. These individuals, these ones would be on the periphery struggling. Now, that is what those particular studies, because I have to look at the negatives as well, because a lot of people speak about the positive, But you also have to know, because you need to, like I have 2 kids. I have a son and a daughter, and so I need to know that, you know what, they're young. One is 12, one is 7. And so I need to know that, you know what, when they get out into, let's say, high school, that I can already start to educate them about the good and the bad of certain things. And so when I looked at that, I'm like, no, that's not something I would want my son to take when he starts, you know, when he gets into high school. And then, of course, in the neighborhood where I grew up, you understand? And I grew up, I grew up in 2 different neighborhoods. At a young age, I was, you know, from Pelican Street. I always say Pelican Street. I lived for some years at George Street, right? So I lived on George Street. And then after George Street, I was at corner of Sarso and Ebony Street, right next to Berger Football Field, immediately facing Berger Football Field. And so, off Vernon Street. So those are the areas I grew up in. And so I remember I would get up in the morning, and then I would be smelling weed, right, in front of me. So I would be smelling it, you know, because they would be smoking it around me, you know. So I got used to the smell. You know, I don't like the smell, but I got used to the smell. So I'm just telling you though that those are the things that people are looking at, and I'm going to give you a chance to respond right now. But let me just say again, good night. Chrissy Moore. Yeah, I don't know about that car, but you know, it could be me. Not sure in Belize. Miss Val, good night. Barbie Becca, good night. Jacqueline, when you say will Belize be selling medical marijuana in pill and or spray form like Canada, I'm going to have you answer that, because maybe you'll be able to speak on that. They're asking if it will be sold in pill and or spray form like Canada. That's a medical marijuana. And Chrissy is saying, can PD people use hemp as medicine? Is it scientifically tested? I want to know about PD patients. And then also Jake Boot.
Which is a PD?
PD is it about depression? Just confirm the PD people, PD, because all right, yeah, he's gonna say it. Then it is said also there will always be potheads and abusers of marijuana. Okay, Chrissy says no. Okay, Chrissy, can you tell us what the PD stands for, please? Judah says there will always be potheads and abusers of marijuana. They've been smoking it for a long time. However, for those who suffer great pain, it's entirely different. Much more effective and healthier than toxic pills. In pill or spray form is very effective for pain management. And that's what my friend says, Judah. That's what my friend says. Chrissy says, don't allow your children to use it from a young age. Don't let them believe that it's okay to use it because it's legalized. All right. Good night, Isaac Kelly. Good night, my friend. And she said good night. He said good night.
Hi.
Okay. Parkinson's. PD. Parkinson's.
Okay.
Parkinson's. All right then. Okay. So thank you very much for that. So again, will Belize be selling medical marijuana in pill and or spray form like Canada? Do you know about that?
Sure. So the government provides the regulations. So let's clear that up. I see people in the comments saying it's legalization. Cannabis in Belize never will be legalized. In the US it's the same. It's going to be regulated, because when you legalize something, you're saying it's free for all. You can go and buy like tomato and sweet bread. That is not the case. It's just they put in a regulation together so we can control the growing from the start to the finished product.
Yes.
When it comes to products, that will depend on the license that you apply for. So for in that aspect, you have to there will be processors who will be processing cannabis, and then you have to go through a distillation process, and then you have the different processes that you need to go through before you actually get to the finished product.
Okay.
Let's touch base on the brain damage. It's very hard to say that cannabis does that, because there's also studies show that brains, that sugar actually damage your pineal gland, which is something very important that you use
Yes.
for development as well. So it's very hard to say marijuana does this to the brains and this, because you have to look at the food you consume. You have to look at the amount of protein you take. You have to look at, there's multiple, there's different various stuff that comes in play when you're talking about the brain damage.
Yes.
Simple sugar mess your brains up. Your toothpaste.
That's true.
So for someone to say don't give your kid cannabis at a certain age, that's like a moral perspective, which we totally understand, because I've seen kids less than 1 year old, 2 years old, under 5 years old that medical marijuana saved their lives.
Okay.
They're like stage 4 cancer. I've seen adults. There's a company in the US, I'm not sure, a lot of people are not aware of this, but there's a brand, there's a strain that are called Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, so there was two brothers who were breeders, and they breed the CBD strain.
Okay.
It was not popular in the US, and then there was this girl named Charlotte,
Okay.
and so the mother got it, and
Yes.
she did live quite years after the doctor gave her up.
Yes.
So the strain was named after her. So we see that this has been used in kids. Now, I'm not saying if you're a kid 5, 6, you should just, and a perfect healthy kid, you should go ahead and just give them marijuana, because that's from a moral or unethical.
Yes.
But to say marijuana itself, isolated, I haven't seen a study that there's the kid that eat perfect nutrition and then you give them marijuana and you have brain damage in school. Again, the school system is one way. You go to school, you sit, you raise your hand, you ask questions, you leave.
Yes.
So what if I'm more practical?
Yeah.
And this is a discussion that people, so it's hard to say that marijuana hinders learning. It might, but to say marijuana alone is very hard, because there are different variables.
This study, this more than one studies who came up with that says, but it has to be from a young age, because they said it was developing. And so I'm just telling you, they did do studies of students on that, all right? And then I told you.
It's not wise, though, to give your kid at that age
yeah, well,
marijuana.
they were taking it, and what they studied, they interviewed these children, and they were studying their patterns. You understand? And so it's just, and like I told you, this particular doctor I speak, because I get a lot of information from different doctors, but this particular one that I told you, he knows so much about it, and he says he's very keen on it, but it being also mixed with liquor, and that's something that is legal. You see? And so when you have something, so these both things will now be legal, right? Just particular quantities you won't be able to have, at one time. So if you have both these things, now let us go into this though, because we're talking about legal, but there are certain stipulations now when it comes to this particular act. Because I see that this act says that even to be able to have and possess and all these things, there are certain stipulations. Can you speak on that and the different levels of people? Because I saw processor, I saw, restaurant, I saw dispenser, there's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's different licensing that this control, this regulation will have you, so you can apply for. It's not like and that's one of the things I look in the bill, because from a marketing perspective and a business perspective, vertically integrated company is where you can get the best price.
Yes.
So vertically integrated is when you go from the start to the finished product. And so that eliminates some of the paperwork. Here in this bill, I haven't seen anything for vertically integrated. Also, you cannot have any joint vouchers with any other companies. So if I have a license and you have a license, we're not able to team up. We have to be separate.
Yes.
And if you do, and you're found guilty, that's a violation of your license, which you can get fined up to $15,000 in the first offense, and the second offense the committee can decide to revoke the license. So there's dispensary license, there's processing license, there's a private label license. So all these stuff goes into, they have different requirements. Something that is very that I have zero support is the central nursery.
Okay.
There should never be a central nursery. In the US, there's not a central nursery. In other countries that have this, there's not a central nursery.
And where will this central nursery be? Central Farm? Where will it be?
It will be in Belmont.
In Belmont.
That's what the bill says.
Okay.
The issue with that is that when you have a central nursery, it bars company and investors from to have how would you say different varieties.
Okay.
Because that central nursery, everyone will need to buy their season clones from that central nursery.
Yes, that's what I
So
noticed.
all of us will have the same cannabis growing, the same strain, the same breed, the same everything.
Okay.
Now the difference might be when it comes to the look is because maybe you have a more experienced grower than I have and this type of stuff. But when you're looking at diversity, there won't be any diversity because if there's going to be one central nursery, everyone will have to buy
There
seedlings
won't
from
be
that.
olive variety, so persons will just have to have this homogeneous level. How many varieties are there?
So cannabis itself, there's three types of cannabis. You have cannabis sativa, you have cannabis indica, and you have cannabis regulus, which people don't normally use because that one is used for breeding.
Okay.
So because that is like, it's not going to get you high. It's a very funny looking plant. I guess most people haven't seen it unless you go ahead and Google it. But breeders use it to start a new strain because you start from scratch. So it's almost like 1, 2, 3% THC CBD. So it's not really much effect at all. And then you can go from there to breed something exotic or different terpene profile and flavors. So terpene profile is like when you eat a mango, you get that.
You know quite a bit. You've been reading a lot, and you smoke weed. You smoke?
No.
Weed? You don't smoke weed.
No, it's the worst way to consume marijuana, to smoke it. So I don't smoke. I don't smoke.
So listen. No, that's good. You know, you know.
If you must take it, I would say go
No,
ahead.
that's smart. That's
Vape
smart.
it, eat it, make tea, drink it, but don't smoke it. It's the worst way. It's not healthy to smoke marijuana.
It's not healthy to smoke marijuana.
Yeah, because you're taking heat in your body, and so your body have to be at a regulated temperature. And then when you consume marijuana smoking, it adds heat to the body.
You have to tell that to the viewers.
Yeah.
Tell it to the viewers. Tell it.
It's just a health tip, so for people who smoke, you always have that choice. But from a health perspective.
So you don't believe that people should be smoking marijuana?
Well, I have my own belief.
No, I want to hear your belief. You're the educator.
Because that's what that's factual information.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like if you've done basic biology and chemistry in this type of school, you understand that putting heat or at a high temperature, or cold at a high temperature, it does mess with the body homeostasis, which mess with the endocannabinoid system. So you don't have homeostasis, and in homeostasis, you don't have homeostasis, then you're unhealthy. Yeah. So it's a rippling effect. Yes, you might get the entourage effect, you feel good, you fall asleep, but then in the long term.
So when you see those guys and girls now, because girls are also there. But before I get into this though, let me just go to some of the messages. Good night, Keenan. Good night, Keenan Flores, my friend. Chrissy wants to know, do you agree? So do you agree that Johnny legalizing marijuana in Belize is a good thing? And then Judah said, medical marijuana is legal. We're going to come back to that. Medical marijuana is legalized all across Canada, and there are physician hotline websites of doctors who are specifically trained in the best product to match pain levels, etc., and prescribe accordingly. All right? And then, and I do know one of my friends, I think he's listening right now, Aaron, I think that is something that, in an era that he's looking to get into, this would help. Chrissy said, what is Mr. Pollard degree on? You understand? And then, what is his motivation on the topic? Why? Okay. Judah says, good question. He needs to smoke it to see if it works. Then Yolanda says, good night, guys. Yolanda R. Mackenzie, good night, my friend. Good night, guys. Good night. And she says, that's true what he's saying. Nancy De Paz, good night, my friend, says, blessed night, Zenaida, and your guest. Yes, and my guest is Mr. Martin Pollard, all right? And he's here, and yes, good night, Tiffany Jones. She says, good night, and very informative, no? So let me just tell you, though, that the question was asked about if you think that it's a good thing. All right, if it's a good thing, do you agree that Johnny legalizing marijuana in Belize is a good thing? What's your thoughts
It's
on
an
it?
excellent idea.
Okay.
And right now, this is just an idea because it's in black and white.
Yes.
There still need to be some adjustment to the bill.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, the central nursery has to go. There is no way I'm going to invest 100, 200, 300,000 or even $1 million to come to a country and say, okay, you can only buy seeds from here or seedlings from here.
Yes.
That's not
You
going to
feel
work.
they should be able to import seeds, or just be able to have
You should be.
importers here already with seed, and you can go there and you have this huge variety. What's your thoughts on it?
You should be able to source your own seeds.
Okay.
Because I have friends in the US that have cuts for $75,000 $50,000
Mm-hmm.
and when you look at these cuts, there's a magazine that in the US that is like in the entire US, High Times.
Yes.
Some of his cuts for 50, 60, 70,000 US win first place, second place, third place.
And that magazine has been around a long time. Huh?
Yeah, so
Because when I was in high school in Washington, I remember one of my friends, one of my schoolmates, that was a long time. He was telling me about this magazine that we were in, and that's how he knew about Belize.
High Times has been around a long time, and they only deal with they only get, because like in the US there's hemp cup. There's cannabis, there's marijuana where you go and if you feel like you're the best grower, you submit your flower, you submit your finished products, your vape, and then there's a board of people that have been in the industry for a long time, people who have masters and PhD in chemistry and biology, so they understand the process and they test your product. They have people that smoke it, vape it and everything, and then they say, okay, this one best flower, best terpene profile. But it's a good thing.
Yes, yes.
But the bill has to be written in the right way, because if this doesn't go the right way, this is going to be chaos in Belize.
What else are you against? Because like I personally, if I were an investor in this area, and I must say I've had a lot of people trying to court me into getting into this industry, but I can't held off.
Well, I think that's the only thing, because you enjoy no custom duty, so you can import all the stuff and pay no custom duty. I think there's a 15% income tax that you enjoy.
There's an area in there about your background in terms of all the assets, and are you okay with that?
Partially.
You think